All right, Josh.
Yes.
Josh, where'd you grow up? Where are you from
I grew up
originally?
in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm home of the Steelers.
Tell me about your family growing up.
Foster care. Mostly semi-okay, but not too caring. Mainly in it for money, Not really you know, oh, we're lovey-dovey type, It was like, we're here to get your money, and, as long as you're not seen and not heard, then we won't bother you too much. And through school, I was bullied, and I didn't have an outlet, When I would try to say something at home, it was like, put me in a bitch or whatever, and they didn't care. There was no, one day the kid in the seat in front of me, he grabbed my foot and he bent it like so far back, like the wrong way, that I literally had to crawl off the bus, and the bus driver didn't care, and I crawled home. And when I got home, they were like, "Why are you crawling? What is wrong?" When I told them, they're like, "Oh, well, you should have stood up and fought." And I said, "How would I stood up and fight? Like, the dude grabbed my foot, like, out of nowhere, and I couldn't even stand up. Like, I had to crawl home. The bus driver didn't help me, and now you're sitting here telling me I should have fought." Like, it was just one of them things, like, there was just no care, Like, they could see how much pain I was in. I was crying. I was only in first grade, It was one of the bigger, fourth graders or whatever that did it, So, I was already smaller for my size anyway, so I was already getting bullied anyhow. And then you add the fact that they're that much older than me, so they're already bigger anyway. And it just gave them that much of a size advantage. And you know how people are. They'll always pick on the smaller or the weaker,
Sure.
They're not going to go after somebody their own size when they can go after somebody half their size. And I dealt with a lot of that growing up. And because of that, I never really had friends. And that's where drugs became my outlet and my only sense of warmth.
When did drugs start for you?
Well, I started out smoking weed, and I did a little bit of acid at like 13. And by the time I was 15, I was doing heroin and crack, and mainly heroin, though. I never really got super into crack because it made me so paranoid. I could never enjoy it,
Do you know what happened to your biological parents?
They're out there. I choose not to really chase after them because, it's kind of pointless at this point, 41. I mean, what's going to blossom, like...
Do you feel like you were ever loved?
Not really. I mean, I feel like I was kind of just left behind, what I mean? Like, because the people that I always stayed with, you could just tell, like, they just didn't care. Like, they were just in it for the money.
Because they collect money from the government
Yeah,
for every kid they're taking in.
Kids, so, because it wasn't like I was the only one there. There was, at least 2 or 3 others, mostly at any point in time.
Did you graduate high school?
I did, barely. I ended up going to a alternative school, and they helped me because without them, I would have probably never graduated. Because I didn't have any force to make me really go, you know what I mean? So when I didn't go, nobody really cared, you know what I mean? Like, so, but with this alternative school, they helped me because they didn't make me do any homework or anything. And they helped me with a lot of my stuff that I had to do for the regular school, like my senior project and everything. They helped me like get around doing all that. So I ended up being able to graduate rather than not graduating. I mean, has it done much for me in life? Not really.
You've been on the streets for how long? You've been on the streets since when?
It's been about 7, 8 years now, right around there. I started out in Charlotte, North Carolina. I had a 3.5 to 7 year sentence in Pennsylvania, and
What was that for?
terroristic threat and simple assault, and it all started because this group of dudes jumped me, and about, I don't know, maybe 6 months later, I seen them and they were talking shit, and I was like, it took 5 of you when you jumped me. I said, like, does that make y'all feel tough? Like, look how small I am. Like, obviously y'all were scared, one-on-one. What, do you think I'm going to kill you or what? Because you're all, closer to 6 foot, and I'm closer to 5 foot. And, like, the lady that owned the house called the police and said I was threatening to kill him. And when the cops came, I ran, just because... I don't know. I mean, they pinned me in the street. I don't know. So I took off running, and he tripped like 30 feet behind me. And they started out with an aggravated assault on a police officer. And I said, "How's it aggravated assault? I didn't touch him, I didn't mean for him to hurt." Right? And they ended up convicting me of the simple assault. They said, had I not ran, then he wouldn't have tripped and fell. Then that's why it is a simple assault, because it wasn't my fault that he
Who tripped and fell?
The police officer.
Police officer.
Yeah,
so
they gave me a 1 to 2 year sentence for a simple assault, and a 2.5 to 5 year sentence consecutive for the terroristic threat, which is the most they can actually give you. Like, they gave me every day that they could give me. And I got out after, it was almost 5 years, and I still owed almost 2 years of parole. And I was only out for like 3 months, and they technically violated me and wanted to send me back. So I was back on the run. And I went to one of my friend's houses. She's dead now, but she was one of the only friends that I had throughout high school. She was a loner like me. And she was a heroin addict, prostitute girl that, we were both kind of on that same line, where we didn't have nobody. And drugs were our outlet, and we clicked on that level. And I asked her, I said, I just need somewhere to stay until the end of the summer. I don't want to go back to prison right in the summertime. Like, I just got out. I just want to feel out for a little bit, and then towards the end of summer, I'll go turn myself in. And she's like, okay, yeah. And she looked out for me. She made sure that, every day I was well. She always made sure I woke up with a shot. Made sure I had food and stuff like that. And in October, I went and I turned myself in, and ended up basically maxing it out. They let me out on parole like a month before I was due to be maxed out anyway. So it was like, what's the point of even letting me out at this point, And I hurried up and I transferred my parole to North Carolina, where my parents were staying. And they let me alone. They let me finish out my month, and it was like a month and a half. And once I finished that, I tried a couple different jobs down there, and it didn't work out. Like, my parents were really standoffish, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't even know where they're at now today. Because this is when I was 25. I'm now 41. So this is 15 years ago. And they tried putting me up with their daughters. I don't know if it's my daughter, my sister. I don't know if she's actually related to me. I think that she's actually like a half-sister. Because I don't think she's from the same dad as me. I think she's from, I don't know, it's like a clusterfuck. But they put me up with her boyfriend, so I'd have somewhere to stay. And I tried a couple different jobs while I was down there, and I just couldn't make anything work. Like, I kept going back to drugs. I kept fucking everything up, getting fired from every job within 6 months. And my parents were like, you're a grown man, we tried to help you out, and they basically put me back out on the street anyway. And it was like, they only gave me like a couple months of trying, like, and I was like, I don't know why I would have expected anything different, I'm like, all this time you've been gone, and, I reach out in my mid-20s, and you tell me you're going to try to help me, but you're going to, see how it goes, and see how I am as a grown adult, and that you guys don't have the means and to an ends to really help me along, too much. And I should have known then that it was like their door out, you know what I mean? That way, as soon as things started to look not perfect, they could just say, all right, you got to go. And that's basically what they did. Like, after I lost my my third job, they were like, sorry, we can't do this, And
do you see how your life may have looked very, very different if you had two loving parents when you were when you were born?
I can only imagine. I mean, it's hard to say because I don't have the experience. Like I said, I just have my short experience as an adult. which kind of incubated how much negativity there was to begin with, you know, like, because I wasn't really asking for a lot. I was just asking, like, you know, all this time you've been gone, you know, I found you after I get home from prison. And it was like the people in the prison, it kind of helped me find them anyway to begin with, because I didn't really know how to do it, you know, looking through like Social Security and background information and going through the system and trying to, you know, it's like, it's just, they helped me find them. And then, you know, they basically showed me that what I thought, how they felt, was true, you know, like they didn't give a fuck less, you know, like in my 20s, and, you know, my life was fucked up, I'm reaching out for a little bit of help, and they made sure they had a doorway to kick me out as soon as something didn't look perfect, and then, boom, within, you know, a couple months, it was like, all right, you gotta go, you know, it was like, they couldn't be bothered, they didn't want to, you know, and it's like, if that's how you feel, then why'd you have a kid to begin with, you know, like, because, you know, kids are not going to be perfect. You're going to have things that you have to deal with. So if you're going to be that quick to just out somebody, you know, the kid's not the way to go, you know? It's like...
Tell me about your life. Tell me about your life today. You're living...
My life today, I try to be the best person I can. I try not to be too bad, you know? I have an addiction that I have to, you know, come up with money for every day, so... Sometimes I'm put into predicaments where I have to do things that I wouldn't necessarily always do. Like, I don't like stealing very much. I recycle a lot. I boost when I really have to. I don't like boosting. I have really bad anxiety anyway. And when I boost it, just, you know what I mean? Like, I get so anxious when I have to boost. But sometimes I have to. And, but I try to not be super bad, you know, like robberies and shit like that. Like, I try to do the least amount of damage to...
You're a fentanyl addict?
Yeah.
Explain to the viewers what it's like for a fentanyl addict who doesn't have what he needs.
No, it's horrible.
You're going to do whatever you're going to have to do, right?
Your stomach hurts so bad. First thing is like your stomach starts hurting. Your stomach starts rumbling, and eventually you gotta use the bathroom, and if you don't got nowhere to go, you're gonna either explode in your pants or you're gonna find a corner and you gotta squat, and who cares who's looking, because your stomach hurts so bad you gotta go, because the fentanyl will actually, it constipates you, and then whenever it wears off, it releases that constipation, and your body, all your muscles start to basically contract and conjust, and they go from being like numbed to being like hypersensitive. So where your stomach would have normally been like somewhat in pain, you're in like stage 11 pain, and it hurts so bad, and then like all your rest of your muscles are all contracting, and you have this really bad like fever pitch, like where your hot and cold spells, and everything just hurts like to the touch, like just like the smallest touch is like painful, you know? And all you want to do is sleep and try to get away from it, but you can't sleep. Or you just lay there and you're just like, oh, this hurts so bad. And eventually you just get up and you're like, okay, first thing I gotta do is figure out what I'm gonna steal, what I gotta do, you know, because I can't go about feeling like this all day. You know, and you know that it's not gonna go away until you get something, so I mean, you don't have a choice, you know. And it sucks because, I mean, you put a lot of people in danger, you put yourself in danger, you know, because you're doing things you wouldn't normally do, you know. But, I mean, you get to the point where whatever has to be done is going to be done. And like I said, I always try to do at least damage to whatever system it is that I have to screw over. You know, I try not to totally destroy something, you know. I try to just take what I need, you know, to get by.
That's why I feel good about giving you guys $100 or whatever I'm giving you for these interviews, because it's saving you from breaking into somebody's car, from getting doing a sexual favor you are not cool with doing, or stealing from a store. So it's like, you know, people love to give me hate for
No.
for helping drug addicts, but to me, so you guys are going to do what you're going to do.
Exactly. I mean, it's going to happen regardless. So, I mean, that's one less crime that you're helping.
Yeah,
not helping happening. You know.
I'm minimizing crime. So tell me about, like, where do you live? Do you have a tent?
Well, I kind of have a tent. Like it's like a make-believe shanty shack. I guess I don't know how you consider it.
Just on the sidewalk.
It's like stuff I found. You know, pallets, cardboard. Tarps, just shit rigged up, just to make it so it's windproof.
Even though this is LA, it's cold this time of year.
Yeah, I mean, during the day it might not be too bad, but we sitting out there at 3 a.m. after you haven't been moving a whole lot. Once you stop moving, your body starts to not, create that body heat. And it get cold. It gets cold between 3, 4, or 5. Right as that sun's about to come up. Whew. So the key is to have somewhere the wind is broken, and the water stays off you, because it does rain here every once in a while. And a lot of times when it rains, it's 2 or 3 days of rain. And if you ain't got nowhere to put yourself under shelter, you're gonna be not only soaked but freezing. So. I mean, that was my main thing, is I got the tarps on the top and layered over them. That way the holes kind of overlap so that water will run off the sides and go away from me.
It's a horrible existence, isn't it?
Yeah, because, I mean, it's too cold. I mean, you're out there when it starts raining, you get soaking wet, and you don't have a change of clothes and nowhere to go. It's dry. It doesn't matter that the sun comes up the next day. You're still freezing all through the next day, So
is this like your lowest point right now, or have you been in this state for a long time?
I keep going in and out. It's like the last 7 years, I'll have a couple months that are okay, and then a couple months that are really fucked up, and then a couple months that are okay.
Tell me what happened to your face. You're all beaten up.
I don't know exactly. I had an abscess. It was like a pimple. I was shaving, and it was like a pimple that I popped. It was like I shaved over, and it popped and started bleeding. And I was like, well, whatever. And I didn't think nothing of it. And I covered it, got it to stop bleeding. I went to sleep, and I woke up the next day. It was like boom, it went from being just a pimple that I shaved over to being
this is what's under your nose.
Yeah, I mean, it's just. And I went to the hospital. I waited 2 days to see if it was going to go away at all, and it didn't. And I went to the hospital, and they were like, how long has it been? I said, it's been about 2.5 days now. And they said, well, we shouldn't have waited, but, it looks like an abscess. And they were like, we're really not sure what to do with it. They were like, because where it's at, we don't want to cut into it, because it's, right in the middle of your face, We're going to give you IV antibiotics, and we're going to see if we can get it to bust while you're here. And if not, we'll keep it here for 24 hours, see how it goes, and then we'll release you oral antibiotics and have you take them, and then after a couple of days, come back, and we'll look at it and see what we can do with it. And that's, I guess, tomorrow would be day 2 that I'm supposed to go back, and see what they're going to do with it, because I mean it's getting worse, and it's not busting. I can't barely eat. And I go to drink, and it's like I'm drooling, I look at myself in the mirror, and I don't even look like myself. What the fuck, my face is just totally distorted. If you saw regular pictures of me compared to what I look like now, you'd be like, oh, what the fuck, I don't even look like me. So,
do you feel like there's almost like a dark cloud over you everywhere you go?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It seems like you've had lots of bad luck.
Yeah, it's like every bad thing that can seem to happen. Yeah, I forget what it is. There's something like Marshall's Law or some shit like that, where you say whatever fucked up things can happen will happen at some point to everybody and anybody at any point. And I feel like that's me. Every bad thing that can happen seems to happen. And it's always on repeat. It's things that I know are going to happen. If I do certain things, I try to avoid them, and they still end up happening. Even though I know they're going to happen, I try to get around them, and it still happens. I'm like, what the fuck?
What was the best time of your life?
Probably, right before, between 13 and 14. Right before I started getting into heroin, and I was only doing acid and recreational, smoking weed, because I wasn't strung out yet. but I had a comfort blanket, you know, with the drugs that kind of, I wasn't addicted, so I wasn't waking up sick. And I was able to, you know, go a day without getting high. And
But you were living at home or on the street?
I was in foster, so I was still in high school.
Okay.
I was like ninth and 10th grade. By the end of 10th grade, it was pretty much all downhill. But like I was just using recreational drugs, so I wasn't sick from anything. And they were still causing that blanket of comfort, you know. They were allowing me to numb things that I didn't want to feel. And I wasn't actually addicted to anything, so I was able to, you know, live a somewhat regular life, you know. And then once I got into the heroin and everything like that, it was just, everything went downhill. So it was like a 2-year gap where everything was like, I wouldn't say good, but not as bad as it became, you know. It was like I actually had a window where I was able to numb things out and, you know, feel a little bit better about certain things for a little bit, you know.
Do you still have hope for your future?
I would like to say I do, but I don't know, honestly. I sometimes feel like I'm just waiting to die.
You're doing the right drug for that.
Yeah, but I found that even with it, it's like anytime I've ever OD'd, somebody always finds me and brings me back. And I wake up, I'm like, fuck, you know. And it's as fucked up as that sounds, but that's how I think. Like, God damn it, why don't just let me go?
Yeah, you've had a horrible life.
Like, people are like, oh, we can't just let you die. It's like, why not? And like, you would have asked me prior to this happening what you would have wanted. It would have been a big DNR, do not resuscitate, you know what I mean? So yeah, I would like to say, yeah, I mean, I'm not that old, but yeah, I'm old. I mean, I'm at the point where I'm not a spring chicken anymore, you know, 41, about to be 42 in 6 months, so I mean, my life is where it is, you know. I mean, what do I see changing, you know, like how great do I see life becoming all of a sudden, you know. I'm at the point where, you know, after 10 years, your body starts to really shut down on you and you start having all kinds of problems from all the shit you've been doing all these years, you know. So, I mean, what do I really have to look forward to other than a bunch of bullshit? So, yeah, hope is almost pretty much out the window at this point.
Josh, let me ask you one more question. What would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in your life?
That regardless of what you're trying to blanket with the drugs end up not working. And there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a different way. Because all the things that go on internally, you know, they're all still there. You don't heal anything. You don't get over anything. All the negative things that you've gone through in your life that you're trying to mask and get through, and using these drugs to numb your senses. And at the end of the day, you're still waking up sick and you're still having all these issues. And there's just got to be something different, you know. I don't know what, but there's got to be a better way.
Yeah. All right. Josh, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
I wish you lots of luck. Maybe what I give you makes you a little more comfortable for that.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Even though Soft White Underbelly consists of a lot of videos, it's really still a photography project to me. And if you appreciate the photography, sometimes it's difficult to enjoy it when it's scrolling down the screen, which is the only option I had in this horizontal format on YouTube. So last year we came out with the first Soft White Underbelly book, which is a collection of the best portraits from the thousands of interviews I've done. Each portrait in this book is accompanied by an interesting quote from the person's interview.
Oh my God.
There's more.
Wow. These aren't as bad as I thought. I look like a witch.
I will not be reprinting this book when it sells out. So once it's gone for good. You can order yours at softwhiteunderbelly.org. $125, $150 for a signed copy. And thank you for watching.